Hello, boys. Good morning. Hope all of you are well. Welcome back to online class. And we are having our classes since the end of the month May, and we are continuing with a motive so that you can just have good preparation, you can have good support for your study, and finally you will just sit for your test exam and board exam. The exams are approaching very soon, and we won't think anything like that the test exam or board exam, we just can avoid these types of exam, and we can just pass without any exam or any kind of test. We will keep in mind that we have to go through the normal condition, and what is the present situation. According to that, we can just hope so that we just hope so that we will have our board exam in time, or the time will be extended, but the board exam, we have to sit for the board exam, we have to sit for our test exam. And as our next motive is our test exam, next target is our test exam. So finally, within this month we will try to just review, we will try to have a thorough review on the total book. In this review section, we will just discuss the most important chapter, most important topics, because you had a thorough discussion on all topics on your classes. So this is not mandatory to have or this is not urgent to have another thorough discussion on every topic. Now it's time to make preparation for the test exam. It's time to have some more practice on creative type questions, as well as for the multiple choice question, and that means for MCQ type question. So I will just start this final review session with the chapter 2 motion, because you know that this is a chapter, such kind of chapter from where question comes in every year. That means this is very important for both question. And in this chapter you just have got so many topic, important topic. For example, you have known about distance, displacement, speed, velocity, acceleration, deceleration, equations for motion, and then laws of falling bodies. And you have very good knowledge on this topic. I won't discuss in detail this topic in this review session. I will just try to focus on some creative type questions on some different important topics. Here is a stem in this class, and you just can see the stem here. A student moves from north to south with velocity 40 km per hour in 15 seconds, and then he moves towards the east with velocity 60 km per hour in 30 seconds, and again he moves towards the west with velocity 50 km per hour in 20 seconds. Three terms are here. The student is starting from north and approaching to south with a velocity, then he just moves from south to the east with another velocity, and finally he just approaches from east to the west with another velocity. This is our stem, and the questions are what is vector quantity? All of you know that vector quantity, this is a physical quantity involved with both magnitude and direction. Second question is the average speed of a velocity can be zero, but average speed of a body cannot be zero. That means average velocity, if there is a probability of having the average velocity zero, but the average speed won't be zero. You have to explain it. Third question is calculate the displacement traveled by the student, and we have to calculate the total displacement over here. And the final question is which one is greater among the average speed and average velocity throughout the journey. We have to calculate the average speed and average velocity and have to compare the both. So our first question is what is vector quantity. As we know that the quantity that needs both magnitude and direction for its proper explanation, for its proper expression, and that is called a vector quantity. So many types of vector quantities, we just know the quantities like force, like velocity, acceleration. These all are vector quantities, and you will just get a thorough discussion on vector calculation, the maths related to vector in your higher secondary higher secondary courses. And second question was, according to our second question was, the average speed average velocity can be zero, but average speed can be zero. You know that average speed is the rate of change of position with time. That means what are the total distance covered by a person within a specific time, that is his average speed, and that doesn't involved with the direction, because average speed, the definition of average speed is distance divided by time. That means whatever the direction is, that is not mandatory to mention here. So this is not involved with direction. But in case of average velocity, the rate of change of position along with direction is called the velocity. That means the velocity is involved with this direction, and we can say that the velocity means the rate of change of displacement. The velocity, as the velocity is rate of change of displacement, as the velocity is the rate of change of displacement, this is involved with direction. And for example, if a person or if a body starts from a rest position and for traveling some time, it just gets back to its original position or starting position, then the total displacement or net displacement is zero, because it is approaching to its starting position again. So there is no displacement, the net displacement is zero. On that case, the average velocity will be zero, because the average velocity is equal to the displacement divided by time. So the average velocity can be zero, but as the speed depends on the actual path, not on the direction, so it can't be zero. There is the explanation of why average velocity can be zero, but the average speed can't be zero. Our third question is, what is the net displacement here? If we just make a simple diagram here, for example, the student is starting from point A, and he is approaching to the from north to the south with velocity 40 kilometer per hour in 15 seconds. We can just take it as a velocity v1 40 kilometer per hour, and t1 is equals 15 seconds. So for approaching from point A, that means from north to south, let in south, its total distance will be or its ending point will be B. That means from north to south it will cover the distance AB. So what will be the distance AB? Here distance AB, we can denote it by d1 also. So the distance d1 will be, we know the equation for distance, d is equals vt. That means as the velocity equals distance divided by or displacement divided by time. So the distance will be d equals vt, and the velocity is here 40 kilometer per hour. We will convert it to SI unit, and that will be 11.11 meter per second, and the time is given here 15 seconds. So the distance covered by the path AB will be 166.67 meter. First of all, it is approaching from north to south, and after moving to south, it then turns to the east, and from south to east it just moves with a velocity of 60 kilometer per hour and moves for the time 30 seconds. So the v2 is here 60 kilometer per hour, and we after converting it to SI unit we will get 16.66 meter per second, and the time here is 30 seconds. So the distance from south to east, if we just denote it by BC, then the distance covered by the path BC will be the D2, and we will get it 500 meter. And after approaching to the east, it again gets back to the west with a velocity of 50 kilometer per hour in 20 seconds. So it is approaching from the point C to, for example, to the, as it is approaching to west, we are assuming that it has started from C and just stopped at D, as it is moving from east to west. So here the total distance covered by the student will be converting 50 kilometer per hour into the meter per second unit. It will be 13.88 meter per second, and the time will be 20 seconds. And finally the distance, that means the distance CD here will be to 77.78 meter. But in our question you are told to determine the total displacement, not the distance. But what is the total displacement over here? The total displacement is the total difference between the starting point and the ending point. The student approaches from the point A and he ends his journey at D. So the displacement will be the distance between the point A and D. So finally the displacement will be AD, because it is approaching from north, and from point A it moves to point B to the south, then it just turns from B to C, that means from south to east, then it gets back from east to west, that means from C to D. Finally he stops at D, but he starts his journey from A, that means total displacement will be the distance AD. So how can we determine the distance AD? This is a right angled triangle ABD. From here, if we apply Pythagoras equation, the law of Pythagoras, then we will get AD square equals AB square plus BD square, and as the BD is the distance, we can calculate it from by subtracting BC, the term CD from BC. We'll just get the distance BD over here, and after applying all the values here, we will get the final displacement AD will be 277.79 meter. In our question we have to just notice very carefully, because the total displacement we have to measure here, the total displacement, not the total distance. If we are told to measure the total distance, then we can just add all the distances over here. Finally, the question number D was the which one is greater, whether the average speed or whether the average velocity. Average speed is the total distance divided by time. Total distance covered by the student is 166.67, and then from south to east is 500 meter, and then from east to west is 277.78 meter. And by dividing the total distance by total time, we'll get the average speed here, 145.3 meter per second. But what is the average velocity? Average velocity means the net displacement divided by time. That means we have to consider only the total displacement here, and from the question number C we have got the total displacement is 277.79 meter, and the total time 15 minutes, second, 30 second, 20 second, as he has covered the distance in three portions. So three so calculating the all those three times given on the question, we will get the average velocity here, 4.27 meter per second. So from our calculation we just sum up that we just can sum up that average speed will be greater than the average velocity. The question number C is quite critical here. I hope you will just try to solve some critical type math in this condition or in this time, because you won't get so much time for your test exam or board exam. So try to have some practice with more critical question, and try to have a very good relation with your textbook. So boys, in our next class I will try to discuss some other important type question, and that's all for now. Take care, stay safe.